In Ireland, people are very frightened of their own inner lives, and this has led particularly to a great deal of misunderstanding and fear of anything that happens in a person's mind that's troubling, any kind of mental ill health.
You know, I meet so many groups who individually, as groups, are out there trying to bring about a sea change as well. And everybody means well, want to do something. I think if we can combine all our resources, I don't mean financial resources, but expertise and respect that they've garnered over the years together under one umbrella, I think we can make a huge change.
I think everybody's really frightened of it. You know, if you have a broken arm or you have diabetes, we'll all say it. But if you suffer from depression, people don't say it because they're afraid it's going to affect their lives. People are going to look at them differently. And I think that's going to have to change, but it's going to be a very slow change. But that's why this Sea Change is a good idea.
Well, Sea Change is a national programme aimed at changing attitudes around the issue of mental health. We know in Ireland that there are some very negative attitudes among the population, and these negative attitudes contribute to the problem of stigma. And stigma is a situation where people feel devalued because of a particular condition they have. And I think it's safe to say that in Ireland, mental ill health is one of the last taboos that need to be tackled in terms of stigma reduction.
People that suffer from mental illness always find that if they mention it to an employer or to a colleague or to a friend, that they're treated differently. It's not seen as like another illness, and that's a great pity. 1 in 4 of us suffer from mental illness at some stage in their lives.
Well, I think it's important that I lend my support because we like to see sport involved. Because sport is very good for mental well-being, and you know, if you're involved in physical activity, you feel better about yourself. That's one aspect, and there's also a lot of sports people that do suffer from depression and mental health, and they're very good examples of people that are hugely successful in a given sport, and they still suffer from depression or mental health issues. But all those issues can be overcome.
People of my parents' generation would talk about aunts or uncles, and that person disappeared and was never even spoken about again. And I think it's a hangover from that we still have there's a reluctance to talk about problems like that. There's a reluctance to seek help, to admit that that's what's wrong, that it's not something physical. And that's all got to change, because recovery rates are good, and it doesn't have to be a life sentence or a death sentence. People can make a full recovery.
I think it's very important to remember that stigma by another name is actually discrimination, and that the impact of the stigma or the discrimination can be as powerfully negative as the experience of the mental ill health.
Sometimes stigma can delay people coming forward for treatment, and that makes it more difficult to get a good outcome. We're certainly seeing as people come forward today, their likelihood of recovery is much enhanced if they come sooner, and if stigma can delay that, we need to address it.
It's really important when people find themselves in places of suffering, mental suffering, that they can actually reach out for support. And as long as we have stigma and fear and shame out there, people won't reach out for support. They'll go to their grave with some secret rather than reveal to another person that they're not doing okay. And that's crazy. That's the real madness of our society, that you would suffer in silence to the point of taking your life, rather than actually say, look, I'm just not coping.
Well, I think sea change is needed in society at the moment, and I think that over all the ages, Irish people are receptive to change, provided it's explained to them and the good side of it. And I think that's what's being done by Sea Change.
It's not like it used to be years ago, where somebody that had a mental illness was often assigned to institutional care for the rest of their lives. And stories were often that if somebody went in there, they never came out. That's not the story of mental illness today. And this campaign is about breaking down barriers, heightening awareness, modernising and updating our attitude to an illness that affects so many in our society.
I want to see Sea Change actually change in people's attitudes. I want people to actually be willing to engage with people with mental health difficulties in their own communities, because for me, one of the most positive experiences that I have had, with my own experience and that of others, is that when we talk about breakdowns, for me it isn't actually a breakdown, it's a breakthrough.
Treat mental illness the same as every other illness. Forget the stigma and let's move forward together.